Greetings from the Echo Asia Farm, Thailand. My name is Patrick Trail. I am the Research and Extension Coordinator here. And today I have the privilege of walking you through the topic of black soldier fly production. And we wish you could be here in person with us. We wish we could show it to you and do some hands-on learning, but we understand that's not possible. So today we're going to walk through an online presentation. We're going to look at the production and life cycle of black soldier flies. We're going to look at the bigger picture and the role that black soldier fly production plays in waste management and feed production, and then we will look at the technical specific stages of how to do that, how to set that up. And it's going to be a quick overview. It's a very short overview of a very big topic, so it's just going to be an introduction to what is black soldier fly production. And so we look forward to walking through this topic with you, and hope you enjoy this presentation. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to today's workshop on the topic of black soldier fly production. Black soldier fly populations can be found in many regions of the world and thus can be accessed and utilized by almost anyone in any place. The idea of black soldier fly production was originally pursued for the purpose of waste management, as black soldier fly larvae were used in the breakdown and decomposition of manure, vegetable scraps, and municipal waste due to their strong waste to biomass conversion rate. In the process of this initial application, it was also discovered that black soldier fly larvae offer significant benefit as a high-protein feed source that can be quickly reproduced. Black soldier fly production is fairly simple and can be done at various scales, from the small scale of backyard production to the larger scale of a small enterprise. This means that BSF production can also be meaningfully leveraged on the smallholder farm and become an important tool for both waste management and feed production. So let's get started and take a look at some of the key benefits of black soldier fly production. First of all, black soldier flies have a very short life cycle. When we raise chickens or cows for meat, it often takes months or even years, but black soldier flies have a 45-day life cycle. The shortness of this cycle means that BSF production can be done relatively quickly and easily, and can be repeated multiple times in 1 year. Secondly, the black soldier fly is neither a pest nor a disease. One common misconception is that BSF production carries the risk that the flies will bite and transfer disease to humans or other livestock. This is not true. Thirdly, the black soldier fly has an excellent feed conversion ratio. This ratio measures the efficiency with which the bodies of livestock convert feed into desired output. Cows, for example, must consume up to 20 kilograms of feed in order to produce 1 kilogram of beef. In contrast, the black soldier fly requires as little as 1.5 kilograms of feed to produce 1 kilogram of larvae. A fourth benefit is that black soldier fly larvae are packed full of energy. They are high in protein and full of fatty acids, chitin, and other nutritional components that are important in the production of livestock feed. Fifth, BSF larvae are a sanitary food source. Some people consider larvae gross or even dirty. In actual fact, the process by which black soldier fly larvae break down feedstock is very clean and promotes the degradation of pathogens and other harmful substances. Sixth, BSF production allows a farmer to turn waste into value. Manure, waste vegetable material, or food scraps, things that are no longer appropriate for human consumption or even other livestock, can be eaten by BSF larvae. These larvae can then be fed to chickens and fish. Thus, waste becomes a valuable product that can be sold or incorporated on the farm. Finally, a key benefit of BSF production is the low cost. Depending on the size of the system desired, the setup can be done very inexpensively, as the bulk of the feedstock needed is waste materials and thus theoretically should be free. Before we go further, let's pause for a quick introduction to the black soldier fly itself, or in Latin, the Hermetia illucens. The black soldier fly is native to the Western Hemisphere. However, today it is widespread across the globe and can be found in almost every country, especially in the tropics. Black soldier fly larvae can consume a wide variety of materials, including manure, food scraps, bone meal, blood, etc., and are voracious eaters, able to consume up to twice their body weight per day. In addition, BSF larvae are excellent sources of protein and are packed full of energy. Furthermore, black soldier fly production leaves a very small footprint, as their use in waste management means they are environmentally beneficial rather than detrimental. Before we look at the actual steps of black soldier fly production, it is important to explain a couple of key points in more detail. First, it is important to reiterate that the black soldier fly is neither a pest nor a disease vector. It is a misconception that the fly will bite or sting. In fact, the black soldier fly likes to avoid human activity and is typically found in the pasture or around livestock rather than households. BSF are also not known to carry any diseases. Thus, the worry that they will carry disease from the production area to the surrounding farm and other livestock is unfounded. Additionally, black soldier flies are usually contained in the BSF production area. Therefore, there is no need to be concerned about BSF production in terms of any danger posed to either humans or animals. Secondly, a careful exploration of the idea of black soldier fly production necessitates discussion of feed conversion ratios. Indeed, it is important to note that to produce 1 kilogram of black soldier fly, you will need only 1.5 kilograms of feed. The efficiency of this ratio is incredible. If we look at other livestock, the amount of feed necessary to produce the same amount, 1 kilogram of protein, is very high and some would argue unsustainable. With the black soldier fly, this is not a concern. Their ability to consume huge amounts of waste very efficiently means they offer an ecologically sustainable option for feed production. Thirdly, the nutritional value of black soldier fly larvae is significant. By dry weight, BSF larvae have a crude protein content of 36 to 65%. This is extremely high in comparison to other feed sources and thus makes BSF larvae a good alternative for livestock feeds. One common protein source for livestock feed is fish meal. However, it can be hard to access in remote or landlocked areas and is also very expensive. BSF larvae are a good option for use instead of fish meal. Additionally, black soldier fly larvae are considered a complete nutritional feed source as they are high in fat and contain chitin, fiber, and other minerals and vitamins such as iron, calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin E. The larvae also contain a lot of amino acids, including lysine, methionine, valine, and arginine. As a complete feed source, BSF larvae are beneficial in the raising of healthy livestock, particularly chicken and fish. At this point in the presentation, we're going to shift gears a little and look at a step-by-step guide in how to establish an effective black soldier fly system. We will begin by briefly looking at the black soldier fly life cycle. Please take a moment to examine this diagram carefully, maybe even pause the video to do so, as an understanding of timing involved in each life stage and from stage to stage is important. As you can see illustrated, the black soldier fly life cycle is fairly short, about 45 days in total from egg to mature adult. When we engage in BSF production, we must establish effective egg production. So the first step is fly mating. In order to establish a successful black soldier fly system, the first step is the construction of a mating enclosure. This is an enclosed area using screen or netting where the mature adult black soldier flies are contained and mating and egg laying can occur. This area must be enclosed in order to contain the BSF adults, as well as to ensure that pests such as birds are kept out. There are not many requirements. However, the enclosure should be shaded and cool. In our EcoAsia setup, we use a small sprinkler system to maintain the relatively high humidity of 70 to 80% that is preferred by the flies. Places to hide and mate, such as hanging banana leaves and potted plants, are also included, as well as a shaded, dark place for laying eggs. Additionally, a water source is provided for drinking, but not for food. At this stage in their life cycle, the BSF adults are not consuming food of any kind. They will mate, lay eggs, and die. There are many options when it comes to construction of the mating enclosure. Of course, the system used will be affected by the intended scale of production. Those suitable for backyard production, like the pink plastic tub seen here, incorporate all steps of production process in one single unit. This system has limited capacity, producing only enough for a few chickens or a small fish pond, using food scraps and compost waste. Other systems with larger production capacities use separate mating enclosures, like the one on the EcoAsia farm, shown in the picture in the bottom right. While the ecosystem produces significantly more larvae than the pink tub system, it is important to know that none of the systems pictured here are at the commercial scale. Within the mating enclosure, there must be some space for egg laying. This area must provide an inviting environment that encourages the females to lay their eggs. In our system, the egg laying space is an enclosure within the larger mating enclosure that is dark and cool and thus mimics the natural environment where a female would choose to lay her eggs. In this space, a food source is provided. However, the females will not lay their eggs in this food, but rather close by. Thus, the egg-laying medium is placed next to or above the food source. In the picture to the right, you can see the egg-laying medium we have created in our system. We use stacked wooden blocks with small gaps made by laying toothpicks at either side between the blocks. 3 blocks are held together with rubber bands and then placed on wire racks that lie above the food source. The females then lay their eggs in the small cracks between the wooden blocks, with each female laying approximately 500 eggs. As you can also see, strips of cardboard can be used as an egg-laying medium. If you were to search BSF production, many people recommend the use of cardboard, as the BSF females are able to lay their eggs in the gaps between the layers of the cardboard. However, we recommend the wooden blocks, as their use makes it easier to harvest the eggs. Again, the stacks of wooden blocks that we use as egg-laying medium here at EcoAsia are rubber banded together in stacks of 3 with wooden toothpicks between them to make small gaps. These gaps are large enough for the females to lay their eggs. When the blocks are separated, the eggs can be gently scraped off and collected for the next step of production. Remember that these wooden egg-laying blocks should not be placed in food, but nearby the food source. Speaking of food sources, as we discussed earlier, black soldier fly larvae are capable of consuming almost anything. This allows us to produce larvae at the same time as we manage our waste and harvest BSF frass for soil amendment too. Here at the EcoAsia farm, our feedstock is composed of market scraps, such as pineapple tops and vegetable cuttings, with a small portion of rice bran and soybean mixed in. Almost any organic matter is suitable for BSF larvae. However, generally, the feedstock used is material that cannot be fed to humans or other livestock, and thus would be considered waste if not for the black soldier fly larvae. Once eggs have been collected, they can be placed on a screen mesh on top of a food source. The mesh ensures that the eggs do not directly contact the moist food. However, when they hatch, the larvae will be able to easily find their way to the food source and begin eating. Here on the farm, we start our egg hatching and larva development in trays or buckets. Once the larvae are established, they can be moved into larger containers or bays with access to more food. The production phase of BSF rearing focuses on the time period between the hatching of the eggs to the start of the pupae stage. During the majority of this period, the larvae are placed in large containers or bays where they can feed continuously and grow rapidly. At this stage, it is important to ensure that the feeding containers or bays are well drained without standing water, as we do not want an anaerobic system. We also want good airflow and should notice little to no smell. In fact, a bad odor will indicate that the moisture level is too high and rot has set into the feedstock. Pictured here is what we call a self-harvesting bay. Some of the larvae can be raised in this bay for the purpose of pupae collection. When the larvae reach the end of the larval stage, they will climb up the edges of the bay, out of the feedstock, and into the troughs seen in the photo, lining the edge where they can be collected into buckets. This natural migration makes it possible to sort larvae and pupae naturally with little to no labor. Black soldier flies in the pupal stage can then be gathered and moved into the mating enclosure where they can emerge, mate, lay eggs, and restart the cycle. While black soldier fly pupae collection is rather straightforward, and pupae can be fed to livestock, it is the larvae that are most high in protein and most suitable for use in livestock feed. This means that we will need to harvest, sort, and size our larvae to separate them from any remaining feedstock and collect those ready for use in feed. Machinery is available that will help to sift and size larvae, but the process can also be done manually using sieves and baskets. Prior to the harvesting stage, the feedstock can be changed to something fine and dry like rice bran so that it is easier to separate the larvae from remaining feedstock. Again, it is ideal to collect larvae for livestock feed rather than the pupae, because it is at the end of this stage that the black soldier fly larvae reach their peak nutritional value. Here is the life cycle of the black soldier fly again. We have now covered all of these phases, but this diagram helps to highlight the different larval stages and the appropriate stage for harvesting. If the purpose of our BSF production is for livestock feed, then we must harvest the larvae before they enter the pre-pupae stage and begin to change color into pupae black. A delay in harvesting will allow the larva to transition into pre-pupae, and some nutritional value will be lost. Of course, the pupae still have value as they are placed back into the mating enclosure to continue the production cycle. However, they are less suitable as a feed source. A final important piece of production is a consideration of potential obstacles. The most significant challenge is pest management. Because the larvae are a desirable food, rats and birds are both attracted to black soldier fly production areas and will eat the larvae if allowed access. This is another reason why BSF systems are generally enclosed. Screens and nets will ensure that mature flies will not escape and rats and birds will not be able to eat or enter the system. Another potential obstacle may be proper odor management. Bad smells can occur when moisture levels are too high. However, if good drainage is built in the enclosures and feeding bays, smell should be kept to a minimum. One thing we do on the Echo Farm is to keep a ready source of rice bran available. This can be mixed into feedstock that is too moist and becoming anaerobic to absorb any excess moisture. Finally, cultural acceptance can be an issue, as the idea of producing insects, even if they are the purpose of livestock feed, can be upsetting to some. Now that we have covered the steps involved in black soldier fly production, we will wrap up with a brief overview of how BSF can be meaningfully incorporated and used on the smallholder farm. As mentioned earlier, on the Echo Asia farm, our primary purpose for black soldier fly production is for use in livestock feed. In the top left picture, you can see that we mix whole BSF larvae with soy meal, cornmeal, rice bran, and other ingredients before feeding it directly to our chickens and fish. If it is not possible to use fresh larvae, they can also be stored frozen and incorporated into feeds when needed. Larvae can also be dried. In fact, many large-scale productions dry BSF larvae, crush them into powder or meal, and then incorporate them into feed. As you can see in the second picture on the right, BSF larvae are well loved by our chickens. In fact, they tend to pick out the larvae first and then consume the remaining feed later. Black soldier fly larvae can also be used to feed fish. Like chickens, fish will eat the larva whole or in a powdered form that is incorporated into fish pellets. However, one potential problem with feeding fish with whole larvae is that they will sometimes sink before the fish can consume them. This can be addressed by using a floating basket for feed. The sizing of larvae fed whole to fish may also require some adjustments over time, as small fry may need to be fed smaller larvae, while larger fish can eat larger larvae. BSF larvae also have potential as an alternative protein source for human consumption. While the idea has yet to catch on in a significant way globally, BSF larvae represent an ecologically sustainable, easy to reproduce, high protein option. However, Echo Asia has yet to explore this application. While BSF production is perhaps most known for its application in waste management and livestock feed production, an excellent byproduct of BSF production is the frass. It is particularly useful on the farm. Frass is composed of a mixture of BSF manure called castings, foodstock, and pupae exoskeletons left over once the larvae are removed from the feedstock. And this frass has high value as a soil amendment and can be incorporated into vegetable transplant trays, fruit tree seedling bags, or applied directly onto production plots. This material is already pre-composted, so it is an excellent soil amendment. So that wraps up our quick overview of black soldier fly production. We're pleased that you have joined us today and are willing to investigate the idea of black soldier fly production. We trust that you have gained a clear picture of the accessibility of this idea and will be empowered to try it on your own farm or in your own community. If you do so, you may want to reference our article on establishing a scaled up black soldier fly system found in EcoAsia Note, issue number 47. Please do not hesitate to get in touch with us if you have any questions or would like a follow-up discussion on this topic. We'd be happy to connect with you. You can always reach us at ecoasia@ecocommunity.org or check out our other resources online at ecocommunity.org. Thank you for joining us.